Welcome to another session of Block Chat. Today, Dennis decided to fly and is not present with us. However, I promise you it will be exciting. We'll make it an all property Block Chat. We'll not go into deep dives except in property. Hopefully, it will be different, exciting, and it will help you understand the asset class, understand more, because I'm sure most of you and or all of you understand, and each of us understands to a certain limit, the asset class that sits behind the technology that the use of inspires us. Because tech is tech, yet what do we use tech for and how do we improve our lives using tech is what matters. So we created a subject today which is wealth for all. And we said property is the right for everyone. Now, why is it the right for everyone? And how is it accessible, or how will it become accessible to everyone? And I believe you can guess more about the how prior to me speaking even about it. But let's look at the why, and let's look at the quality of investment, the quality of value add to everyone's life property could be. Let's start by the composition of property. We obviously have land, yeah, and land is the base that all property is built on, built on top of, or built under. And when we talk about land, we have a myth that runs through all our heads, or we talk about it so often, which is land is scarce. And then comes the argument land is not scarce, there's so much of empty land. And here we need to clarify, what do we mean by land is scarce? Let me explain that for you. And we start with this. Land is scarce. Yes, historically, urbanized land is scarce. Why? Because land beside rivers where there's no cliffs and easy to access and possible to build on and not dangerous to live on is scarce. With time, we started building roads and bridges and airports, and yes, land around an airport is scarce. Land in general is not scarce. Yes, land, if you're building in the countryside of England, is scarce because yeah, you have plenty of land, but you have zoning and permission rights, and you're not permitted to build on them. Land in a city like London is scarce. Like land in a city like Mumbai is scarce. Why? Just because it's a stretch of land and we are containing ourselves into it. So scarcity has dimension. And when we talk about scarcity next, remember the dimension on scarcity. I hope that not to be boring you or feeding you info that you have no interest to know. But for those who want to know more about property and who know how to evaluate, or to know how to evaluate property and how to sizzle property the right way, it's good to understand that. And then comes after land, commodities. You tell me how. Because what I believe in is land is an investment, or property, pardon me, is an investment in everything. And why? It's because the composition is land, then commodities. We have concrete, we have steel, and other kinds of commodities in the equipment that range from silver to gold to titanium to aluminum, and then, by the way, one of the most scarce commodities in the world that people don't know about or is sand. Do you know that? You tell me no, gold is more scarce. I tell you, based on the demand, sand is scarcer, if that's a word. So you have commodities. And then you have something that's very important that sits in the heart of the composition of every property. It's a human resource. As you know, developing property takes so much time and effort. And here, yeah, I know the argument, and I am an advocate for that. And I believe every house should be built in a factory. Still, to date, it's not. And even then, it's a different kind of human resource, which costs more. So rather than having less skilled human resource for a longer period of time, you'll need to have much more skilled human resource for a shorter period of time. Still, human resource is a major element in the composition of property, because it's a major element in the composition of cost of developing property. Now, those are major. Now, we will come here with land and infrastructure and how much does it cost to urbanize land and to supply it with the infrastructure that's required, and all of those questions which are important to answer for all of us. But we don't want to complicate it. We want to just take the basics of it, the fundamentals of it. This is property. Property is land, commodities, and human resource. And putting them all together makes property and makes it the most precious asset class in the world and the most diverse asset class in the world. And you tell me how? It's one asset class. I tell you, yeah, but if you create a bag of multiple asset classes, you create a bag of an asset class that is so diverse from within. And this is property. Now, we all know that we talk about property so often and we say property is bulky. To buy a property, you need $100,000 to $100 million. You can't buy property probably for $2,000 anywhere in the world. If you have $500, you would buy nothing in property, not even a part, a small part of property. And here comes the how. Yes, it's a right for everyone. Why is it a right for everyone? Because you want to live in a house, you feel more secure in a house. The house is a base of family building, which is major in every society. And yeah, people can believe that families are not important. Now, I don't agree, but who am I to agree or not? If you have an idea that says that families are not important and you want to live single forever, you're advocating for more houses, which is cool. So, although families are very important, in my opinion, even going away from the idea of families, unless we stop reproducing, which I doubt we would do anytime soon, although there's theories that say so, we need houses, we need homes, we need places to live, we need places to live that are, and here we come to cities that of the future that are safe, cities that are not overly polluted. And pollution is noise pollution, pollution is the air pollution and the water pollution. There's multiple types of pollution. And this is a right for everyone. And it's a right for everyone to be living in such an environment and have a house. And owning a house allows you the security that that environment is yours and no one is going to take it away from you. Now, owning a house with 80%, 80% is usually four times what you've paid and could afford in equity. As mortgage, although don't understand me wrong, I'm an advocate of mortgage. I have mortgages and I believe everyone should take a mortgage when buying a house. But still, for someone who's starting his life out of university, hopefully without education debt, reaching a point where you start to earn, develop a family or not, develop wealth, enjoy a lifestyle, buy a house, and have four times your money in debt shakes a little bit if things go wrong, that status of security. So, how do we solve it? How about if we allow you to buy 20% of your house if you have 20% in hand? How about if we allow you to buy 2% of your house if you have 2% in hand, or 0.2%? So let's run through this. Today, if you start your first month working while you're in university, you earn $600. You live for 400 and you save 200 because you're someone who's very cautious about your future. Let's say so. That $200 can go against a purchase and investment in your property. I have an 8-year-old son. He's been saving for some time. He's saved around $200. My son today cannot invest it, really, if we take things as simple as this, cannot invest it in an easy way if he wants to invest it in real estate. If I want to teach him to invest in real estate, however, he would be able to do so if we fractionalize property, if we make it smaller parcels. Now that's item number one. However, how about if we fractionalize it and make that fraction digitally represented and accessible? And that's tokenization. So, for those listening to me today on the session that is full of real estate only on block chat, you look at it and you say, okay, so he's talking about Blocksquare's solution. Yes, that is for everyone. And our thesis is to have everyone capable of purchasing a part of his house as much as you want, whenever you want, wherever you are, wherever you want. So if you are in Canada and you want to purchase a house in Dubai, you can. If you want to purchase it at night, you can. If you want to purchase 0.1% of it or 40% of it, as long as it's under offer, you can. Good, yeah, good theory. Now, here we go to we are able to purchase that house. What are the pros and cons? What would this do to property values? What would this do to stability of ownership? What would this do to the institutional investor? When we look at those details and when we see the amount of transparency, because it's very transparent, imagine today on a tokenized property, you can go online, go to Etherscan, follow the link that takes you to the documents, and you can go to IPFS and see every single document that is related to that asset that you're owning. The second thing is that you can see a, an order book and an order wheel. You can see every single transaction that have taken place, and you can see all coming transactions. And then when this is a phenomena, when there is thousands of houses tokenized and being offered, that will allow people to simply have always a comparable whenever they're buying or selling property. So they're never undersell and they're never overbuy and or overpay for something they're buying. And this is the right approach in property. When we talk transparency, we talk liquidity, we talk accessibility, there's other benefits also. We always believe that property is local and property is local. However, if we reach a point and standardize methodology, standardize terminology, and standardize processes, you will be able, if you are living in Mexico and you own a property or a portion of it in Spain or in Slovenia, you're able to collect your rent, see every single detail on the property, all in a very simple manner and in a way you understand because it's standardized. So I'm looking forward for the day where there is an institution similar to Realtor, similar to FIAPSI, that simply guards property that is tokenized, the standards and the methodology. By the way, I'm part of Fibri and it's a foundation of international blockchain real estate expertise, and we are trying to do that there. And there's much work to do for us to get where what I'm saying now is possible, but we're working towards that. And it's encouraged that others do work towards that too. Maybe Realtor tomorrow morning, they're listening to this and they come and say, you know what? Yes, that should be organized in a certain manner because they don't legislate. So hopefully legislators legislate and they organize. And institutions will come up with that activity, organized, standardized, and uniform. And that allows you to understand the language a property in Spain talks if you are from Dubai, or a property in China talks if you are from the UK, because the language will be uniform. Now, we standardize, we make it transparent, we make it so liquid, we make it so accessible. Obviously, this may um, subject property to some speculation here and there. I agree. That's how we talk about the liquidity premium, because people are able to buy it. Investors sometimes who have less money are less particular about the return. That isn't always true. Investors who have slightly more money are much more particular about the return, maybe. Still, those dynamics will play in. However, what's right will happen. People who could afford a certain property and get a certain, buy it, acquire it at a certain cap rate, would do. And when the market stops allowing that to happen, it will drop in price, or it will wait until its price is in return. And this is the dynamic that will happen. However, let's look at the challenges of it to environments and families and people and parties. And then we talk about legislation after that. So let's start with families and environment and communities. How could communities be impacted negatively by you tokenizing property and allowing everyone to access it? Simply, you'll narrow the difference between different categories of, can I say categories? I don't believe I can say categories. Let me say classes of people who do different things in life. You narrow that difference, and then the wealth gap will hopefully shrink. Now, I'm not sure how much would it shrink, so I can't call this a benefit, but still, it wouldn't be worse than it is today. It hopefully will be slightly better when you allow people, and this is something I've learned a long time ago. If you have someone who invests in gadgets as if that's an investment, with time, they will continue to spend their money on gadgets. Now, you will look at someone else who's investing in assets, and you will see that they're tighter on their money with time until they reach a time where those assets are regenerating and they can't stop being that tight because it's logical to do. So, if you have money, adding some money on top of it makes a big difference to you, and you have already a track record on how good is it having wealth within your life, then you would work for more wealth and you would put the procedure and the policies in your life to achieve that. If you don't, you don't. And this is important because when you look at property ownership and you say a father can buy or can start buying a property for his kid from the day his kid is 1 year old. And there's 365 days a year, with the exception of some years that have 366 days. 365 days a year. In 10 years, there's 3,650 days. You remember those ones that we counted? Add two to it. And that will allow a father who's just saving $2 a day. And I'm saying all fathers can, but if they can, save to purchase a part of a property for their kid as they go, or parts of properties. Imagine your kid reaches 20 without you having any stress. You've already created for your kid a portfolio of diversified property everywhere. Imagine that a father who decides while he's 18 or 19 or 20, he's supposedly not a father yet, he decides when he's 20 to stop smoking. He used to smoke heavily. By the way, it happened to me. A few years ago, I decided to stop smoking. I used to smoke a few boxes a day, and I stopped doing that. Imagine that you take that money that you save from smoking. If you're smoking 4 boxes a day, that's considerable money a day, daily. And you take this money and you invest it in property every end of the month. Imagine what would that do until retirement, and how will it grow? The beauty of it is, those structures that tell you your dollar cost averaging because you're investing with time and your step entry over a very long period of time. So you're always winning, supposedly. This is it. And you're investing in a property, and you know which property are you investing in. So you have that amount of control on your choices. This is one of the impacts of tokenization. Now, here we were talking about negative impacts. We were trying to negative impacts may be available and challenges may come up. And obviously, challenges are what we're living today. And we are asked and challenged many times, not only by situations of legislation and people who are trying or attempting it, but by everyone around us. You're spending this time, effort, and money on this. Web3 in real estate, tokenization of real estate, making real estate accessible. Yet, don't you feel that the challenge is huge? And I always say the challenge is not prohibitive to me and to everyone at Blocksquare, because we see the value of the benefit, and that benefit is financial as well as other types of benefit that we would be able to achieve with time doing exactly what we're doing. So, what I want to tell you here is look at property tokenization and really try to understand it and really look at the details of it. And you'll see that being a pioneer in it will pay with time. Why? Because it's not only tech, and you say, oh, it's not a problem. When it becomes a thing, we develop the tech for it. It's the methodology, it's the education, it's the team development, it's the community development. This is what it is. And it has been proven that with communities and everything communal, creating that kind of relationship is very valuable. So, yes, property is local. However, if you are able to reach every locality digitally in a standardized way, why wouldn't you do it? And this is us today discussing real estate and real estate tokenization. I hope I didn't bore you. I didn't mean to, if I did. Um, few things before we tell you goodbye today. One, we had a sex listing. Few, I shouldn't have a pause. Had pause after the sex listing. We had a listing, and it has been doing pretty well. Although we're not all about price and liquidity, but it's important to see that the community got what it wanted, and we're happy to see that evolve and develop. We have a few developments that are very interesting that are taking place, and some of those developments are enabling us as a team to achieve and to go out of our way to do new things. You will see us in events. You will see us in mediums that you wanted to see us in, sponsoring events, sponsoring activations, and this is what we owe to ourselves, our company, and our community. And this is what our community wanted. So if you're a member of our community, nudge that person beside you and tell him, this is a team that I have been backing for the last few years now. And this is what they're doing today in what is called the winter. Um, Join us so that they can also have that energy sharing and benefit themselves and benefit us at the same time. I encourage you all to register and be part of our community. Communicate with us if you see value you want to add. Any questions you want, our community is very active, much more active than me, for example, sometimes, especially with communication, because sometimes the level of communication is overwhelming. But that's good. That's love. Huh? And continue that drive. Thank you so much for being with me today. Dennis, we miss you on Block Chat. Hopefully, we'll see you. We miss you not. Who said so? Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Guys, next week, hopefully, we'll have an interesting Block Chat. And hopefully, we have a guest. The guest was supposed to be this week, but we missed that. We were on an AMA a few days ago. I hope you've all seen it. If you haven't, go through our channels, and I'm sure you will have access to it. If you didn't, I will tell Emmanuel today. Maybe we can add it so that you can see it. It was a very interesting one. Dennis, alongside myself and Jamie, and we're discussing everything, tokenization of real estate and Web3 in real estate, and we had some interesting discussion there. Again, thank you for joining me on another Block Chat. I'm Makram Hani. Have a pleasant evening.